Artlist.io.
It was my first year of university. I had just finished unpacking all my stuff into my room, and my family had just left. Later that same day, my roommate finally arrived, and right from the start I knew this kid was the most socially inept person I'd ever met. I introduced myself as Dan, sticking out my arm for a handshake. He paused, looked down at my arm as if he didn't understand, then laughed and went, "Oh," and gave me an almost dead fish handshake. I had to ask him for his name since he didn't even tell me when we shook hands. He said his name was Dale. I tried to make small talk, but he answered my questions with simple yes or no's, occasionally letting out an awkward laugh or smile. Within minutes, we were just sitting on our beds on our laptops, not saying a word to each other. I was upset and planned on requesting a different roommate. Anyone would be better than Dale, I thought. I assumed Dale was just an awkward kid, but I soon learned he was much more than that. I met some other kids on my floor and they seemed cool, so that was good. I came back to my dorm after exploring campus the first night to find Dale still in the exact same position he was in when I left. I said, "What's up, Dale?" And he didn't answer. Not that I was surprised. It was 9:30. I didn't have anything to do, so I turned off the lamp on my side of the room and went to bed. I didn't fall asleep anytime soon, though. Dale was on his laptop until 3 a.m. When he finally closed it, I fell asleep pretty quickly, but I woke up within the hour. The blinds to our room had been opened, and the moonlight creeping in made everything visible, including Dale sitting on the side of his bed, looking at me. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and said, "Dale, what the hell are you doing?" He whispered back, "Sorry," and laid down. The next morning, I woke up to find Dale already gone. It felt like the first time he had ever left the room. It was Saturday, the first Saturday of the year, meaning orientation and all the campus festivities. During the orientation, as my group walked by the school gardens, I heard a couple of students ahead of me whisper, "What is that kid doing in there?" I looked and saw who they were talking about. It was Dale, literally sitting in the dirt behind a patch of bushes, rubbing the bark of a tree with his hand. The orientation leader didn't notice. Otherwise, I'm sure she would have said something. I just walked by without saying a word. Eventually, I told the two kids I overheard that he was my roommate, mostly to start a conversation and maybe make some friends. They apologized for me. None of us knew if it was appropriate to laugh or not, but we did. I made friends with those two kids and we planned to hang out that night. I also learned when I got back to my dorm that the school found another roommate for me. Things seemed to be turning around. I left the room that night to meet up with the two kids, and when I returned, Dale was sitting in the desk chair facing the door. I said, "Oh hey, what's up?" He replied, "Nothing," very matter-of-factly. I sat down, opened my laptop, and realized I had forgotten to lock it. I also realized that all of my emails had been opened, emails I was pretty sure I hadn't even read yet. A bunch of my folders were open too. Dale must have snooped through my laptop. When I asked if he did, he shouted, "No," half a second after I finished the question. I could read him like a book. This creepy kid had literally gone through my computer while I was out. I knew he did it, but I didn't pursue it. I was ready for bed, so when I went to look for my pajamas, I felt like my clothing had been moved around as well. I knew I'd be out of there forever by tomorrow, so I didn't say anything. That night, I woke up to the sound of a zipper. I sat up and saw Dale on the ground going through my bag. I turned the lamp on and confronted him. He played dumb, saying, "I think you have my toothbrush by mistake." It was the closest thing to wit he had shown at that point. Still, I knew he was lying, and I knew something was wrong with him, so I wasn't going to get physical. The next day, I met my new roommate in the same building. Everything went well. Sunday night, after a decent conversation with my new roommate, who wasn't a social butterfly but was miles better than Dale, we both turned off our lights and went to bed. For the third night in a row, I woke up at some odd hour to a strange noise. It was a weird clicking sound, not consistent, but happening at least twice every 30 seconds. I got up, hoping it was something innocent. A heavy bag on a weak floorboard, maybe even a mouse. But as I scoped out the room, I realized the sound was coming from the other side of the door. The night light in the common area was always on, so when I looked through the peephole, I could see the scalp of a person standing just outside our door. They were looking down, so I couldn't see their face. The tiny clicking noises were coming from the doorknob. I was sure they were trying to unlock the door. I dialed campus police, and they arrived in under 5 minutes. Only then did I feel safe opening the door. They had Dale in cuffs. I had a feeling it was him. I explained everything, that he was my former roommate who had gone through my stuff, so I switched dorms, only to find him trying to break into my new one. They took him away. I don't know what happened to him after that. I never saw him again. He was either suspended for the semester or expelled. I got through the rest of my university years like anyone else, though the nightmare with Dale still pops into my head every now and then. I went to Binghamton University for 2 years. I quickly made a big group of friends, and we'd go out every weekend. One Friday night in October, when my group didn't have big plans, 2 close friends and I decided to hang out in the school nature preserve by the lake. There was a little clearing on the far side of the lake, perfect for fires. It was far from view of the school or campus security. Kids would sometimes, but not often, go there to smoke, drink, and do other drugs. It was a relatively unknown spot, and we liked that. We brought beers, lit a fire, and hung out having what we called a bro chat. As the night went on, the alcohol hit us and time flew. Eventually, we were laughing so hard one friend was rolling in the leaves. Then my other friend suddenly stopped laughing and went, "Shoo!" We all perked up and listened. We heard crunching leaves and branches in the distance. We threw our bottles in the lake, since we were under 21 and campus police sometimes patrolled the woods. We tucked the rest of the beers into a backpack. I was moderately drunk, so my paranoia was higher than usual, probably true for all of us. The fire exposed us to anyone passing through the woods, but this spot was so unknown that it was rare to find anyone that deep in. It sounded like just one person. The sound of a tree branch snapping not too far away freaked us out. None of us were confrontational, so we lacked that one person who would call out to whoever was out there. Instead, we sat in silence, shushing each other. We heard what seemed like somebody or something walking around us in a semicircle. Felt like we were in the Blair Witch Project. The sounds, cracking branches, crunching leaves, kept echoing around us. We laughed at first, but I soon became terrified. Suddenly, a huge thud made all of us jump. At first, I didn't understand, even though I saw what caused it. A branch had been thrown into the center of our fire site. One of my friends took off running. My other friend and I stayed for a second, looking at each other, half laughing, half concerned. We weren't sure if it was a joke. Then my friend screamed in pain as another branch struck him in the face. I grabbed the backpack, helped him up, and we ran toward our dorm. When we reached the road separating the nature preserve from the dorms, we stopped to catch our breath. But whoever was out there had followed us. We heard footsteps approaching the road. We kept running until we reached our floor. Our other friend was already in his room. We looked from his window down toward the woods. Someone was pacing back and forth at the tree line, walking back into the woods whenever a car passed. Eventually, they disappeared for good. We continued drinking in the dorm and laughed about it within 10 minutes. It wasn't until the next morning that we all realized how terrifying it really was. We never went back into the woods after dark again. This next experience happened during the first week of school my freshman year at the University of Iowa. I was just starting to get comfortable with my roommate. He was dedicated to rushing a fraternity, and rush week was starting the next week. But the parties were starting Thursday of the first week. He didn't want to go alone, said it'd be harder to meet people, so he wanted me to go. I agreed, even though I had no interest in rushing. I still planned to go to parties. It was a party school after all. My roommate wanted to go to one frat party on Thursday, then parties at different frats on Friday and Saturday. On Thursday night, we headed to one of the lowest ranked frats. Pretty sure it was underground too. His logic was to have a backup frat in case the higher ones didn't give him a bid. The house was far from campus in a rundown downtown area. We pulled up to a corner house, and if it weren't for the blasting music and parked cars everywhere, we'd never have guessed it was a frat house. It looked like they settled on the first house they found. We knocked, and a short, chubby guy in a sweat-stained white t-shirt holding a solo cup answered. He told us to come in. The party was in a dimly lit room with maybe 50 guys bunched into the living room. It was hot as hell. I saw maybe 2 girls the entire time, and neither was remotely attractive. I gave the party 20 minutes, talking with one socially awkward guy after another, all giving off antisocial vibes. Eventually, I signaled my roommate to get ready to leave, but a huge group by the door made us stay longer to avoid an awkward early exit. I continued drinking the cheap beer. I think I downed 5 cups before I even felt buzzed. Then a heavy guy approached me, handed me a tiny bottle, smirked and said, "That'll get you shit-faced." I fake laughed and thanked him, expecting him to walk away, but he stayed there watching me, as if waiting for me to drink it. So I did. It was maybe 2 shots of some kind of liquor. He started talking to me, and every time I hinted at ending the conversation, he pulled me further into it. Things started to get blurry. I felt dizzy. The room seemed darker. That was the last thing I remembered before waking up in a dark room, lying on a bed. I could hear the muffled sound of music behind a closed door, so I knew I was still in the frat house. The room was very dark, but I could make out some furniture and a small closet door. Then, over the music, I heard the sound of a plastic bag being crunched, as if someone had stepped on it inside the closet. I ran out of that room, down the stairs, and back into the crowded living room. I found my roommate and pushed him out the front door, past the guys still standing in a circle. In the car ride back to campus, I told him I'd been drugged. He almost called the cops, but I said it would be pointless. Then he asked an awkward question. Was I taken advantage of? I didn't feel any pain, and my clothes were the same, so I assumed not. I checked the time and realized I'd only been out for maybe 10 minutes. Whatever the guy gave me must have been a dud. That was my experience attending an underground ghetto frat party. It remains my scariest life experience. I had a single dorm my first semester of sophomore year. It was in the corner of the floor, kind of secluded. You had to turn a corner just to see the door. It was nice because I could still talk with friends, invite people over, and still have privacy when it was time to study or sleep. A few weeks into the semester, while studying for a bio exam, the silence was interrupted by a noise. It took me a moment to realize it was a light tapping on my door. So light I almost didn't hear it. I yelled, "Come in," but nobody entered. I got up and opened the door. Nobody was there. I walked around the corner to look down the hall. Nobody. Someone was obviously messing with me. I went back to studying, this time leaving the door open. Nobody came back. The next night, a few minutes after shutting off my lamp for bed, the tapping returned. This time louder, more like knocking. I called out, "Who is it?" Again, it stopped and nobody answered. I got out of bed quickly, opened the door. Again, nobody. I ran the 10 feet down my little corridor and looked down the main hallway. Nothing. The next morning, I asked people in the dorm if they were messing with me. Everyone said no. The next night, I woke up after 3 hours of sleep to loud knocking. I hesitated to open the door, but with a burst of courage, I did. Nobody. But this time I sprinted down the corridor, and when I turned the corner, I saw the back of someone disappearing around the far corner of the hallway. I ran as fast as I could. When I turned the next corner, I saw a door closing at the end of the hallway, a bathroom door. I felt ready to confront whoever this was, so I pushed the door open hard. The light was off. I flipped it on, nobody in sight. My first instinct was to check the 2 bathroom stalls, both of which were closed. I got on my hands and knees and looked underneath. I saw 2 heavy black boots under one stall. I took a deep breath and pushed the stall open. I was confused. The boots were there, sitting upright on the floor, but there was no person wearing them. Then I heard a creepy giggling, not feminine, not childlike, a giggle that I could only imagine coming from a really old, crazy man. My confidence vanished. I was terrified. I ran back to my room and shut the door. I got in bed and texted every friend I had. But of course everyone was asleep. The knocking happened one more time that night. I ignored it. It went on for about 30 seconds before they finally gave up. I talked to everyone on my floor the next day. Nobody else heard
Music
knocking,
licensing
and everyone swore
reimagined.
they weren't pranking me. Everyone seemed sincere. I don't know why this person chose to harass me or who it was. Judging by the boots and the laugh, it was an older man, and that disturbs me.